let's try to fit everyone, or Senator Clements, let's try to fit everyone up here before.
Not here?
If we have to, but I think we could. Great. I think we can fit. Keep filling in.
More down.
I'm gonna get further back.
There's enough room. Thank you.
Hey, Mike. Do you? Wow. You can stand right there. Yes, it's red.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Pardon me.
I'm sorry. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Before we get started, I just can't help myself but take advantage of the moment. You've all seen that special pig in the reception area. We're working on a name that pig, so please drop your name in before you leave. It's really important that we get that done and get a lot of names. But thank you all for being here. Today is really, really an important day for Nebraska and for our country. I want to say thank you to everybody that is here. I want to say thank you, Senator Fisher, Lieutenant Governor Kelly, constitutional officers, and all my colleagues in the 108th legislature. Really, really grateful for you all being here. Also, I'd be remiss. This is the 8th day of getting to be the governor of Nebraska, an extraordinary, extraordinary privilege. Want to thank all Nebraskans for their support. Incredibly touched everywhere I go of Nebraskans reaching out and saying, Jim, we're praying for you and your family. Very touched, and I will say this, Nebraskans have been inspiring me on the campaign trail, and in the last 7 days, Nebraskans have inspired me so much. My tank is jacked so much that I'm having a hard time sleeping, and I think I'm not 47, I'm 27 now. Appointments. Let me just touch on it for briefly. We Nebraskans like to make our decisions and have our voice heard. Appointments happen only because life happens. Life happens. This is an extraordinary day. It's only happened 5 times in the history of our state. 5 times. Different reasons. And I think that we, the people, rather make the decision of who our elected officials are. An appointment is a very short-term thing, and what takes place is an election for the appointment takes place as quickly as possible on the next time. So appointments are temporary, and the people speak as quickly as possible. That makes sense. This is the timing of what's taken place makes this appointment extraordinarily rigorous. I don't think Nebraskans fully understand what the expectation of this appointment lies ahead. There'll be a race and a statewide election in 24. And because of the timing, and Senator Fisher's election will be up in 24, and because of the timing, this appointment runs for election again in 26. I think I can use the word never. I usually never like to use the word never because that's a long time. But there's never been a Nebraskan who has had to run for statewide election in 2 consecutive terms. Congressmen are running for election every 2 years for 1/3 of the state. I have a pretty good idea what it takes to win an election in a statewide, and to do that in 2 consecutive 2-year terms is an extraordinary rigorous challenge. I don't believe in placeholders. I believe that every day matters, and that a placeholder, for those that think a placeholder is the right decision, placeholders don't have any accountability to the people. I think it's very, very important that when you fill an appointment, that you have a person that is committed to the long haul. And the other thing that's really important is seniority. Applaud Senator Fisher. She's starting her 11th year in the United States Senate. She's committed to the seat of the Senate, is going to be working hard to win re-election in 24. That's what we Nebraskans deserve and we need for the state of Nebraska and for our country is seniority and determination and grit representing us at the national level. My job in this process is really, really simple: to find the best person to represent us, Nebraskans. Pure and simple. The process for me has been really, really important. Not a lot different than serving on the Board of Regents the past 10 years, where we went through a process of finding 2 presidents. Not a lot different than what I've done for the last 35 years. Whenever we needed to build our team with key leadership, we worked really hard to find the best person, go through a process, and stick with the discipline of it. We took this process incredibly seriously, and I won't get into the timeline now. We can talk about it later, but it was really, really important. And the criteria for me were really, really simple. The appointee for this position needs to represent us, the people. have to have the values and ideology that's really important to all Nebraskans. Have to have a servant's heart for public service because of our kids. Really important that the appointee believes in less government and fiscal accountability. Need a lot of help at the federal level. Really important that the appointee is a person of incredible faith, God-fearing like almost all Nebraskans. It's really important that the appointee has the courage to stand up and defend us and believe in how important Nebraska's safety is and our nation's safety. Couldn't maybe more critical than any time in our history. And it's really important that the appointee knows what drives this state, agriculture. We are the breadbasket of the world. There's nobody that feeds people in the world better than we do here in Nebraska. The bad news is we can't eat it all. And so we need help to make sure together we can find markets and open markets everywhere in the world. There's not a market that doesn't deserve Nebraska's production. And then lastly, it's really important. It's really important that this appointee knows Nebraska really well. And I think that I just finished describing why it was very obvious once we went through the process. We opened applications for this in early December 8th and closed in December 23rd. We had 111 applicants, and we went through an interview process of interviewing 9 candidates. And it was an extraordinary, great Nebraska people that brought lots to the party, but it was clear the person for the job is Senator Designate Pete Ricketts. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Right there. Thank you very much, Jim. I very much appreciate the appointment, and I was proud to support you in your campaign. I've been very impressed with what you've done so far with regard to your administration in just these short few days. And I know that Governor Pillen is going to do a fantastic job and do great things for the state of Nebraska. And I'm very grateful for this unexpected opportunity to be able to continue to serve the people of Nebraska. I also want to thank Senator Sass for his service. He has been a conservative voice in Washington, D.C., and especially when it comes to making sure we have conservative judges on the federal bench, and especially in the U.S. Supreme Court. That has been fantastic, and I wish him well. The opportunity, one of America's premier higher educational institutions, the University of Florida, and it's great to be having somebody with a conservative voice in higher education. So I wish Senator Sass well. I also want to thank Senator Fisher. Senator Fisher has been a fierce advocate for Nebraska agriculture, which Governor Pillen already said is an important thing for our state here in Nebraska. She's also been a terrific partner over the last 8 years. Deb and I have been friends for a long time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to learn from you and to work with you once we get to Washington, D.C. So thank you very much for all your help over the last few years, and I look forward to continuing to seek your help as we're in D.C., so thank you very much for that. I'd also like to thank all of our colleagues that are gathered around us here today. Many are either constitutional officers I've worked with or state senators I've worked with, or folks I know along the way who I haven't had the opportunity to work with because they're new state senators. But I just want to say thank you all for being here today, for your show of support, and for all the great work that I know that you're going to be doing for the people of Nebraska in this legislative session. So thank you very much as well. And then last but not least, I want, and this is most important, thank my wife, Suzanne. My wife, Suzanne, and then my son, Roscoe, is here as well, and my 2 daughters who cannot be here. one cannot be in this business without the support of your family, and my wife and my children have been tremendously supportive as I've gone through campaigns and being governor, and will certainly be alongside me as we go on this next venture here. So thank you very much, honey, for all your love and support. You're the best. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you.
I often say Nebraska is what America is supposed to be. And it's never been truer at any time in our history than today. When we think about all the opportunity that we have here in our state, the jobs that are available, our high quality institutions of education, and what we have done here in state government in my administration over the last 8 years was show how can we make government work for the people. You know, we focused on making sure Nebraskans would spend less time standing in line, waiting on hold, or filling out forms. We improved it, whether it was making it so it's faster to get a driver's license or a permit, or making it easier in our economic assistance line. In all those ways, we showed that government can work. That's what I intend to bring to Washington, D.C. The experience that we had here in Nebraska and what makes this such a special place, and bringing that to Washington, D.C. You know, there's a fallacy in Washington, D.C. that government can't work and we have to expect failure. But that's not true. We proved that it's not true here in Nebraska. We need to hold Washington, D.C. accountable for making sure they're providing the same level of high service that we do here at state government. And for the things that we're properly supposed to do them really, really well, just like we did here in Nebraska. We've got to hold Washington, D.C. accountable for the waste and the fraud, and make sure that we're running government more like a business, just like we've done here in Nebraska. We also have to have a strong national defense. That's one of the key things our federal government is supposed to do for us. We've got to make sure that we're pushing back upon some of the threats like the Chinese Communist Party. We've done that here in Nebraska. In fact, I was the first governor to ban TikTok on state devices back in August of 2020. So we've been pushing back on the CCP, and we need to continue to have that strong policy in Washington, D.C. as well to make sure we have a strong nation. These are some of the things that I want to pursue in Washington, D.C. to make sure we continue to have the best place in the world. We're going to fight for our freedoms, the free enterprise system, the things that have made this state great and our country great, just like we've done here in Nebraska and how we protected it. And just like we've gotten through the disasters we've had here, whether it was the floods or the pandemic, we're going to work with our state partners to be able to make sure states can have the proper response. Again, we demonstrated that here in Nebraska on how to do that. We want to take the things that we've done here and bring them to DC so that we can continue to have the greatest nation the world has ever seen. I am excited about the opportunities to work with my soon-to-be colleague, Deb Fisher, who has fought for these same ideals in Washington, D.C., to add my voice to hers on how we can fight for our conservative values, make sure that we continue to have a strong free enterprise system that has created the wonderful opportunities this country has had. This is an unexpected opportunity. I am humbled and grateful for the great responsibility that Governor Pillen has given for me, and I look forward to continuing to serve the people of Nebraska. Thank you all very much for being here today, and again, I want to thank all the folks who have been here to support me. I look forward to serving the people of Nebraska, and I won't let you down. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Governor Pillen.
Thank you, Senator-elect Ricketts, and Suzanne, thank you for saying yes. Extraordinary commitment, and you've had all of a week off to relax.
Oh, I know.
My Suzanne would say, I'm ready to send him on. That was plenty of time. Let me get serious for a minute. The next person that I'm going to introduce, I got to know Senator Fisher in the spring of 2012 when she was running for the United States Senate, and I had made things happened, and there was an opportunity to represent Northeast Nebraska for the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. And I worked really, really hard, and we did lots of parades, and every parade that I went to, almost, Senator Fisher was there. And I said to myself, holy cow, how is she doing it? I'm only 1/8 of the state. And then I had to figure out how to do that. But Senator Fisher, her history of public service and being like so many Nebraskans wanting to make a difference, served 20 some years in one of the most important positions, school boards, fighting for our kids, and then was called to serve in the unicameral, served 8 years, and then called to become a United States Senator, and the people easily responded. I'm really, really grateful for your tenacity, your all of your work, and your family's commitment to public service, because seniority is a big deal, and your impact in DC. We're very, very grateful. Please welcome Senator Fisher.
Thank you very much, Governor Pillen, Lieutenant Governor Kelly, and our state elected officials who are here today to recognize and support my new colleague in the United States Senate, Pete Ricketts. It's my pleasure to be here to congratulate Pete, and I look forward to working with him, and I look forward to welcoming him to the Senate chamber for swearing in at the end of this month. It's going to be a big day for Nebraska. To the people of Nebraska, I would say we know that Pete knows the state of Nebraska, and we know that Pete loves the state of Nebraska. I know that he is going to do a wonderful job in continuing to serve the people of this state. And I look forward to partnering with him as we move forward on the big issues that are before us. It's a big responsibility that he is undertaking right now. And I think he's going to have a very quick learning ability here as he moves from state issues to federal issues. That's something I had to do as well after being in the legislature for 8 years and being so totally focused on state issues. And one thing I would suggest to my new colleague would be to continue to listen to the people of the state. Because although you're going to have a broader set of issues, you're going to have to, as a United States Senator, learn about everything, because it's not just your committees that you're on, it's everything, national issues, state issues, international issues, that you're going to have to be able to pick up and learn. But we all know that Pete's a quick learner. He stepped into the governor's shoes and did a fabulous job from day one. He will work hard for this state. So I look forward to partnering with him in the future and to be able to build a stronger Nebraska and be able to build a stronger and a more secure nation. Thank you.
Be open up for any questions that anybody might have for us.
When you were doing the interviews with the 9 different candidates or weeding through those 100 applications, were there any others that came close to the experience of former Governor Ricketts, or just what was it about his that set him apart?
Well, we had 9 folks, 9 Nebraskans that we interviewed, and they've each one have had distinguished careers in all different in public service and in business, and they each touched me about their pure heart and desire for public service and make a difference for Nebraska. This was a very, very hard decision, and some I've known for a long time. So only in Nebraska can we have 111 applicants and 9 incredible Nebraskans to interview, to serve, and because this is rigorous. And ultimately, the timing of this is very, very rigorous. And my belief in not a placeholder, and my belief in seniority being really, really important, running statewide elections, in winning statewide elections in 24 and 26 is rigorous and demanding. And ultimately, that was a big separator. The other thing that in the seniority, and we talked, I hold really close to the cornstalk, and Governor Ricketts assured me that no matter who calls for a different job, he is committed to the United States Senate. No matter who calls him to become a vice president of the United States, who calls him to become secretary.
Very flattering. Thank you.
Thank you. We are Nebraska, right? We are Nebraska. Who calls to be Secretary of State or any other thing, he's committed to this seat, and he and Suzanne have committed to winning elections, and at a minimum of 10 years. I'm praying it's going to be longer than that, and you're going to love it there, Suzanne. So those were important things. Yes. Thank you.
I'd ask you if you can address criticisms that have been made that this looks a bit like backroom dealing, given the fact that.
I'm sorry, could you start over? I just couldn't hear that.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank you.
I would ask how you would address criticisms that this looks a bit like backroom dealing, given the support you had gotten from now Senator Ricketts while you were running for governor.
Yeah, thank you. The question is backroom dealings, and first is anybody that knows me. That's not part of my DNA. It just doesn't work. Integrity of the process and the commitment to the process was highest priority. We put an incredible amount of energy and critical thinking through this to find and make sure the best person. I have way, way too much respect from the people in Nebraska to get the best person possible and never assume anything. In our business, that's a good way to go broke, and that's not acceptable for Nebraska. And number two, just simply, there were 9 outstanding Nebraskans that took time and go through the interview process. I have way too much respect for people. That was to find and be a part of finding the right person. Thank you. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, the interviews. So we were sworn in last Thursday, and we were working on the process in our transition team. But we did the interviews after I was inaugurated, and from the governor's office. The people of Nebraska have an extraordinary appreciation for the office of the governor. Thought it was really important that we interviewed the candidates from the office of the governor, and that took place in the last 3 days. Yes.
Ricketts, how do you see your term differing from what Senator Sass did? How do you see that, and what members of your staff, if any, are you taking with you to Washington?
So the question was, how do I see myself as being different from Senator Sass, and who am I taking to Washington, D.C.? Actually, first of all, I'll start by saying I think there's going to be a lot of similarities from the standpoint of Senator Sass was a very conservative vote there. Again, he focused on getting conservative judges onto the bench, but judges who understand the meaning of the Constitution. I share that same value. In fact, that's what we've done as I've appointed judges here in Nebraska as well. Senator Sass was very keen on strong national events, especially national defense, especially with regard to the threat of the Chinese Communist Party. I also share those same concerns. So I think there's going to be a lot more similarities around the issues that he and I are going to be focused on, which are, again, kind of the conservative values that we share. So I think there's going to be a lot of similarity on the issues. I can't think of specific issues that we differ on right off the top of my head, though even conservatives will disagree on different issues, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But I do think it's important that we have that same conservative thought and values and philosophy coming to DC. And, Governor Pillen here has been very kind to, appoint me. And so one of the things that I'm going to have to do is put together a team. And my former chief of staff, Matt Milberg, will help me put together that team and work in Washington, D.C. to get that put together as quickly as possible. But we don't have it. I don't have anybody else that I can tell you right now is going to be a part of that.
I might just add, I was not kind. You earned it.
Thank you.
You earned it. The focus is not being kind. The focus is finding the best person.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Brian Master from the
Brian.
WG. Mr. Ricketts, this is for you. What was the family conversation like? When you said, hey, I'm thinking about.
I said, honey, please. So again, I've been humbled to be able to serve the people of Nebraska over the last 8 years, and your family serves along with you on that as well. So before I threw my name into the hat, Suzanne and I had a lot of conversations. This was a family discussion. It was a lot of thought and prayer and discernment on my part as well. And so my wife, who also believes we have a great nation and wants to find ways to continue to serve the people of Nebraska, was willing to make the sacrifice for our family to have me continue to serve in the role of U.S. Senator. So it was something that we both profoundly love this state and saw this as an opportunity to be able to continue to serve. Senator designate.
Senator Designate.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you would say to that segment of the party that was resistant to the idea of you as a senator and maybe resistant to the way the process would work because it was going to be appointed? What would you say to them about their concerns about how the process is?
So what Aaron's asking about is how would I address some of the concerns I think that the Associated Press was asking earlier about the process. And one of the things that we as Republicans got to do to be able to win elections is make sure we've got a broad tent. So we need to bring people in. So we've got to work with Republicans all across the state to be able to make sure that we can elect conservative candidates. That is what I have done for nearly 20 years, has worked to elect conservative candidates. And Governor Pillen and I share a lot of the same philosophies, right? We believe that government that works best works closest to the people, that it should be limited in its scope from the standpoint of what we're trying to do. It's not the solution to every problem we have, that we've got to be fiscally responsible, that we've got to do a good job of providing services. These are all the things that Governor Pillen and I share. I mean, his business experience is, similar to ours, right? It's similar to mine. He started his own business, or grew up that small family farm into one of the largest pork producers in this country, created over 1,000 jobs here in Nebraska. He understands what it's like to be able to grow that here in Nebraska. We grew our family business here in Nebraska. So the fact that we've got a lot of the same philosophies shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And we're going to work hard in my campaign to be able to go out and earn all those votes from Nebraskans and bring them together so we can continue to have the same conservative values in Washington, D.C. Apparently I'm the popular guy today. Okay.
One last time.
Right. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry, what?
How long did your interview last, and what was the toughest question that he asked?
So the interview was, Andrew asked, how long was the interview asked, and what was the toughest question? The interview lasted a little bit over an hour, and I don't know that there were tough questions. It was just a discussion, a dialogue about, how did I view serving Nebraska, being a U.S. Senator? Was I committed to, as Governor Pillen already mentioned, was I committed to running in 24 and 26, which I am. So as Governor Pillen pointed out, I'm not going to be looking for any additional seats. I'm committed to running in 24 and 26 to serve the people of Nebraska. He asked about a variety of different issues and what I thought about them, but again, having the same sort of conservative philosophy, there was a lot of overlap on that. So it was really more of a discussion. I don't know that there were any tough, hard-hitting questions. I think that Governor Pillen's style is really more just a conversation, getting to know people rather than trying to grill them. And that's really the way our interview went. Yeah, Aaron again.
Governor Pillen, can you talk a little bit about the process? When will he no longer be Senate designate? When will he become Senator?
Well, I think that Secretary Envin's working through that process. We just signed paperwork this morning before the press conference that it's official. And I think that the Senate convenes in DC on January 23rd. And so there'll be a little bit of paperwork take place between that, and I think the official swearing in will take place at that time.
Governor Pillen, was there any, did you feel comfortable with, talking or interviewing, Senator Ricketts, as you were going through this process after, he's been he helped you with your political campaign, donated money to you? Was there any uncomfortability, in that process?
The question is, was I uncomfortable through the interview process because of Governor Ricketts' impact on my campaign? The best thing, so the answer is, of course, not. I learned from my father that every one of us puts our pants on the same way, one leg at a time. And I think that what's so incredible about the experience I've had in the last 2 years, we've had 4,500 Nebraskans invest in our campaign. Many have never been a part of the process. We've awoken the quiet, conservative, pragmatic Nebraskans to fight for democracy and be a part of that process. And not one person ever said any kind of expectations. This is Nebraska.
Governor Pillen, you mentioned agriculture being the breadbasket of the world here, and that's role in the selection. Did you consider any candidates who had more of a direct production agriculture background? And since Governor Ricketts, now Senate designate Ricketts, does not, how did you factor that in?
Well, I think that the factor is I'm a believer that past performance is a pretty good indicator of future performance. There were several applicants that come from production agriculture, certainly interviewed a couple people that were very close to agriculture. Again, Governor Ricketts has demonstrated he's learned a lot about agriculture. I think I can still beat him on a shoveling or a pitching contest, but he's learned a lot. So it gets back. There's a lot of things to get back. That this is a very, very rigorous ask to be able to make a commitment like Pete and Suzanne are, and have a probability of winning. I'm a believer in seniority, and the timing of this has been very difficult. But life isn't easy, and that I did the best I could in that regard.
Governor, would you be surprised by any of the 9 people you interviewed, and were any of them Democrats?
Excuse me? Say it again.
Would we be surprised by any of the 9 finalists that you interviewed, and were any of them Democrats?
So I'll tell you who the 9 were. And so I don't think you'll be surprised. I did not interview any Democrats. I believe I have too much respect for people. I don't believe in where the administration is going. I believe it's big government socialism. And I did not, even though Democrats in Nebraska will see it fair, I do not believe it would be fair to even consider putting a person to caucus within that. We need to stay strong for our conservative values in Nebraska. The candidates that we interviewed in no particular order was Sid Dinsdale, John Weaver, Greg Ibaugh, Don Cluthy, Buzz Garlock, Don Eccles, Brett Lindstrom, and Brian Sloan. They're extraordinary Nebraskans, incredible, pure hearts for service and making a difference for Nebraska. The interviews, what I learned about each person, it made this decision very, very difficult.
Governor, as you put together your new administration, do you see any place for any of these other candidates working with you in the future or being a part of your administration?
There certainly could be a possibility. Certainly ask the question, are any of you, if you're not selected, are you open to any other forms of public service? And of course, like Nebraska said, of course, we'll help you any way possible, Jim. Yes.
Hi, this is for Senator.
Oh, good.
I'd ask you, you first ran for the Senate in 2006. It was a contentious body then. It is a next level now for contentiousness. How will you deal with that, and what's going to be your number one priority when you get there?
So the question was, the Senate is very contentious. How am I going to handle that? And what is going to be my number one priority when I get to Washington, D.C.? I think, first of all, with regard to the contentiousness, it's something that I think we as Nebraskans can share with the rest of the country. We have our differences, but we work together to be able to solve our problems here in the state. And we try to do it in a way that's civil and respectful to each other. It's just who we are as Nebraskans. And I think that's one of the things that Senator Fisher has demonstrated with her time in the U.S. Senate. And that's what I'll be bringing as well to the U.S. Senate, is that civility and respect. So I think that's how you address some of the contention. With regard to my number one priorities, I talked about it a little bit, is here in Nebraska, we have worked to be able to make government work for the people. And that's what has to happen in Washington, D.C. We should not have the expectation that the federal government is doomed to fail. Government can work. There are things that we all agree government should do. They should do them really well. And that's what we have to have Washington, D.C. accountable for. We've got to work against some of the bad policies. For example, government overspending has created the inflation that makes it hard on families to be able to make ends meet. Here in Nebraska, we've controlled our spending to 2.8% over the last 8 years. And I know that Governor Pillen shares that same philosophy. We've continued to have that fiscal restraint while doing a good job delivering services. That's also how we delivered over $12 billion or will deliver over $12 billion in tax relief. And I know that Governor Pillen's going to build on that going forward with the same philosophy of fiscal restraint and giving money back to the people. And then, of course, we've got to have a strong national defense. That's one of the primary responsibilities of the federal government, is to protect this nation. And the Chinese Communist Party is definitely one of the existential threats, or probably the most serious existential threat to our country. And we've got to push back against that threat. We've done it here at the state of Nebraska. After my trade missions in 2015 and 2016, we closed down our trade mission in Shanghai and moved it to Germany. We banned TikTok and so forth. So we've got to continue to push back on the Chinese Communist Party and make sure we have a strong nation.
Anything specific when you say you're going to target the Chinese Communist Party? You know, ready to go?
Well, the follow-up question was, there anything specific? I'm sure there's a number of senators who are working on this issue, and so I want to work together with my colleagues to find out what has already been done. I don't want to reinvent the wheel there. So I've got a lot of learning to do, as Senator Fisher pointed out, and so I look to consulting with the other senators and working together with them about how we can address it, because there's a lot of smart people there already. They're already working on this problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more question. Senator
That's me.
Fisher,
Senator Fisher, okay.
what were some of your concerns through this process, and what were your initial reactions when you got the call that it was going to be Senator Ricketts?
I had no concerns about the process that Governor Pillen set up. I think it was a very open, a very fair process to let people who you may not have thought of considering for this position, they could put their names forward. He could review those names. He could determine who he was going to interview. So I had no concerns with the governor's process. He and I had a short conversation about, he asked me, what questions I would ask and what you look for in a senator. But he has been right on point through this whole process since he has been sworn in as governor. And there were very, very good people who applied for this. But I am also very, very excited to have Pete Ricketts as a colleague, because, as I said in my opening comments, he understands this state. He knows this state. He has connections all over the state, and he has shown that he will be out traveling the state. He will be listening to Nebraskans. That is a strength that Pete has, and that is something that I am looking forward to him bringing to the Senate as my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Let me finish up with one with one comment. Another thank you for everybody being here. Maybe I haven't asked. We don't have the date, but in early February, I would hope that we could have as many, maybe even more back. We're going to have a press conference announcing Nebraska, the month of February being Nebraska Mentoring Month. We are committed, and all of us in Nebraska agree, our kids are our future, and that we never, ever, ever give up on kids. And we are going to unveil some extraordinary, hairy, audacious goals to stimulate and inspire all Nebraskans to become mentors, to help first, second, and third graders so that we have every third grader being incredibly proficient at reading and engaging and making a difference. If every one of us would think what kind of an impact if we'd have had a mentor come and spend an hour at school with us, like the Coach Osborne's Teammates Mentoring Program, the impact is incredible. And as I like to say, no kid needs one. Every kid deserves one. So I hope you'll come back and learn and help us inspire all Nebraskans that we have every kid have a chance to have a mentor. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations.